Hello everybody, I am Joel Friesen and we are Silver Arrow Cars, and I am here to introduce something that doesn't need an introduction. This is our 2008 911 Turbo with the manual transmission, 997.1 Mezger engine car with just 41,000 miles. From all of us Porsche addicts and dealers and aficionados, all the rest, I think the 997 Porsche 911 Turbo requires zero introductions. This is a car that is on many people's shopping list. The 997 Turbo, why is it so desired? Well, you could make comparisons to the 993. The 993 is ultimately desirable because it is the end of the air-cooled generation. Not only is it the end of the air-cooled generation for Porsche, it also had a lot of other things that were extremely desirable about it. Its driving characteristics, its styling, its size, a whole myriad of reasons. Well, in the generations of Porsche, the Turbo, for the street cars anyway, for the non-GT cars, the Turbo is the king of the castle. Turbo and the Turbo S. That is the big model, that is the big power. And manual transmissions in a Turbo does not exist anymore. That has not existed since 2012. That was the end of it. And that was the 997 generation, which is this car. That is the last of the generations, or that is the last of the 911 where you could buy a turbo model with a manual transmission. And then you can split the 997 into two categories. There's the 997.1 and then there's the 997.2. 997.1 technically went from 07 to 09. What happened in 09? Well, they did a facelift. The cars very much looked the same. They updated the PCM on the interior, but the engine changed. And the Mezger engine, our Hans Mezger developed engines, which has a long history with Porsche. Very, very well regarded engines, very robust, part of the Le Mans program. Anyway, this would be the end of the Mezger engine in the Porsche 911 Turbo. And so there is your signifier as to the relevance or the importance of the 997.1 Porsche 911 Turbo manual transmission. So the 997 was the end of the manual transmission turbos. We all love manual transmissions. After that came PDK, and that was the end. There was, until today, and it still exists, there is no turbo model with a manual transmission. The turbo model that was unveiled in I think 2006, and then a 2007 model year for Porsche replaced the outgoing 996. You might remember the 996 because it had the, what do they call them? The egg headlights, or the headlights that kind of came down and into here. Big deal for the mid 2000s. But the 996, probably the cheapest turbo you can buy, was replaced by the 997. I think a lot of us all hold the 997 in a high regard. It is a smaller car than the 991, a smaller car than the 992, which is our current generation. But still a wide body. So the Turbo always received the wide body, going all the way back to the 80s. But the 997 generation Turbo is one of the most coveted cars to go out there and find. They built a lot of turbos over the years, and I believe 997 for the world, they built something like 19,000. But if you wanted a manual transmission in North America, they built about 3,000 coupes with a manual transmission. Now it might be 3,300, 3,000. I'm just roughly saying, pretty small number over the production run from 997.1, which is 07 to 09, which is 1.5. Power output, which is something that we should talk about on the 997.1 manual transmission. Well, the same for the Tiptronic, but power output 3.6 liter, and the 3.6 with the two BorgWarner turbos puts out 480 horsepower, which was a massive improvement over the 996. The 996 generation, I believe, put out about 414 horsepower, which I'm guessing is probably the horsepower you get in a base Cayman today. But a big horsepower upgrade, even for the 997.1 or the beginning of the 997 turbo, the horsepower on this car was still above what the horsepower was on the Turbo S in, say, the 996. So big power upgrade. Turbos are all-wheel drive cars. They have been since the 993 generation, so 96 and newer. So all-wheel drive, wide body. The turbos all got the big inlets on the side, as did the GT2s. And then this car specifically has a handful of X options on it and a really interesting and, I would say, desirable color combination. So let's talk a little bit more about the details of this car. If you get into the interior, you're gonna start picking up on some of the calling cards of your shopping list for a 991. Number one, I would say, is a two-tone interior. Any Porsches, old, new, to me, and I think to the market, are extremely desirable with interesting color combinations and interesting colors. A lot of these cars were built in gray, black, silver, so this car being guards red on the exterior, but the interior is a two-tone leather interior. Leather was standard leather was standard in the 911 Turbo. It was not in base model cars or S model cars. That was an extra option. But the two-tone with the black dash and the sand beige interior. Why am I pointing that out? Well, what you might not have known is when you see a lot of these cars offered in the market and you see them with sand beige and then sand beige on the dash, I'm gonna let the cat out of the bag here. When you get heavy sun coming in through the windshield, you will get reflections from the dash up into the windshield, and that can cause glare as you're driving. I am sorry for if you own one of these cars, because now you're never gonna be able to unsee that if you hadn't seen it before. Some other things to check off on the interior, very importantly, would be is that it has adaptive sport seats. So it's got power adjustable sport seats. When looking at one of these cars, there's the standard seat that just kind of comes up, and there's the sport seat with the big wings and the hard back. These are more valuable than standard seats, and they're more comfortable. So this has the sand beige leather seats with the power adjustments to it. This car also has extra X options. So this one has the cluster surround in leather. This one has the headliner is in leather, which is not normal. The dome lamp cover, so it's got a black headliner, and then the dome surround is leather. The sun visors are wrapped in leather. Rear window wiper, sport chrono package, axle diff lock, the adaptive sport seats I mentioned that they're heated, fire extinguisher, footrest in aluminum, floor mats in interior color, two-tone leather interior, and it's got a 3-spoke multifunction steering wheel, door finishers in leather, instrument surround in leather, roof liner in leather, sun visors in leather, dome lamp cover in leather, and the door entry sill guards in stainless steel. So beyond a normal turbo, this car has a beautiful and fairly robust list of options beyond just the standard turbo options. Also important to note, this car has been upgraded at Porsche. So the one, I would say, Achilles heel of a 997.1 is that you have the 997 or the original infotainment system. That system is somewhat antiquated and not entirely useful in today's modern world, where everybody wants CarPlay or navigation that's actually helpful, and so on. So what did Porsche do? They put out their own update for the 997s, or the 997.1, and this car has received that from Porsche. It's a cost of about $3,500. And what happens is your factory radio gets taken out. That still exists and still comes with the car. But then it is updated to a new head unit that includes factory Apple CarPlay. Looks completely factory. It matches the same silver texture, but now you have integrated Apple CarPlay, navigation, the modern things that you would hope for, and is the one thing you would probably want to upgrade in your 997. Going through the rest of the interior and the options, so it does have the 3-spoke multifunction steering wheel. This is definitely a bonus. It's still the comfortable and thicker 3-spoke steering wheel, but you can actually control volume and track and so on the steering wheel. The car is fitted with factory Bose audio, so the premium audio system. You'll see in the door panels, on the door pulls, you can see all the deviated stitching on the doors and on the dash. That is all leather. Your Sport Chrono package is wrapped in leather. Heated seats, of course, cruise control. The interior is in phenomenal condition. The sand beige with the black two-tone is beautiful, and it's really, really nice to look at from the driver's position to see the lower portion of your dash and doors in sand beige and then the upper in black. I just like that contrast. It's more interesting to me than all sand beige. When we come to the outside of the car from the inside, some options and just details on the exterior of a 997 Turbo. This one was actually optioned with a rear wiper. That is not typical to have a rear wiper on one of these cars. That is and continues to be an extra option you can ask for. It's kind of a heritage thing and a nostalgia thing, as that was a normal thing to find on, say, a 930 Turbo. These cars, the rear wing was hydraulically operated, so this comes up at speed, or you can control it on the dash yourself, but it turns into a split spoiler, much like you see on a 996 Turbo as well. That was pretty typical, and that was the beginning of that, actually. The 996 was the beginning of the adjusting rear spoiler, which still is a thing today on the 911 Turbos. This one is fitted with its factory wheels. So these are the standard turbo look wheel for the 997 Turbo. Of course, it's got the big turbo brakes drilled on the front and the rear with the big calipers, always painted in red. And then the rest of the exterior is pretty standard. I will mention that this car was protected with PPF film across the entire front end of the car. So that is all protected. And then the rear is just naked paint the rest of the way around the car. The condition of the exterior of the car is fantastic. The car underneath the PPF on the front, it does show a little bit of chipping, do I want to say chipping or do I want to say kind of patina? Just some marks, I guess. The bumper could have been repainted at some point. The owner opted just to PPF it and not. So there's a small amount of marks that you'll see on the front of the bumper, none of which that show as white as they've chipped through the paint, but the odd little mark underneath the PPF. The headlights show, as you would expect, a little bit of marking, obviously from road or stone grime, but extremely good condition and very normal for this car. The car has had its side markers upgraded to clear. The original amber ones are in the front trunk. The wheels are in excellent condition all the way around the car. I believe one of them does have a small mark on it. Small mark on the passenger rear, driver's rear, very small, and clean on the front here. Rocker panels, intake or inlets, the vents on the side, all in good condition. Just a small little bit of marking on the intake vent, which is pretty normal over the years of driving one of these cars. If you get a rock kick up, it might touch the removable plastic intake vent that does have PPF, what we call the shark fins on the quarter panels there, and then around the rear of the bumper, the bumperettes, all extremely tidy condition and very congruent and indicative of the interior of this car. So speaking of the history of this car, we have a ton of service history for this car. It was just serviced before it came to us. We have a DME download for it. The service history goes back over 10 years, I believe. We have a binder that comes with the car. It has its original books, so owner's manual with the original owner's name in it, all the supplementary books. That comes all in its leather pouch, has 2 keys. As I said, it does have the car cover, but an extremely well cared for car that has lived in our area for the vast majority of its life, if not the entire life, after being sold new from Fletcher Jones Porsche. But a truly iconic car, iconic color, and very well taken care of. So I just want to do a quick startup on the car. We haven't started in a couple hours. But let's just do a quick startup on it anyway. I'm gonna start it, and then I'm gonna let it warm up, and then I'll probably give it some revs. So to wrap everything up, I think we've walked you around the car. There should be lots of footage for you to see the interior and the exterior of it. The car is completely stock. It has no tune, it has no special exhaust. It has not been modified. It is just a factory 41,000 mile turbo, serviced routinely at Porsche, almost exclusively at Porsche and at our local dealer for a number of years. Finished in guards red, a lot of extra options over the base turbo options. It's got a 2-tone interior that is black and black two-tone with sand beige leather interior, factory turbo wheels on it, and just great history and a very complete car. A lot of people searching these cars out because this 2008 is essentially the end of the Mesger engine. This is the end of the manual transmissions for the 911 Turbo. And this is high on everybody's watch list for a car that they want to buy now and that they would like and hope to see appreciate. I think if we look at the history, or if you look at the history of these cars, they are continually creeping up. I know I have my eyes peeled for them at all times. So if you have any questions at all regarding this car, I am Joel, we are Silver Arrow Cars. You can reach out to us, find us on our website, Instagram, whatever you like, and I can answer those questions for you. But great car, hard to find a color in a 997 Turbo, and then try and find an iconic color like Guards Red with that 2-tone interior. Highlights, Guards Red, 997.1 with a manual transmission, the Mesger engine, sport seats, 2-tone interior, extra leather options, and Porsche history. This is a great candidate for your garage. Please reach out. This is sitting in Blaine, Washington on a Washington state title.